Now, we don't have any microphones in the room, so we'll have to do our best to project our voices and try to be as quiet as possible when people are speaking. So, good afternoon and welcome, everyone. The Winter Lecture Series 2009 has featured talks by Toronto lawyer and developer Steve Diamond, by Ryerson Professor Marco Polo and Waterloo Professor John McMahon, on their exhibition at last year's Wednesday Biennale. A talk on the subject of the architect of the city by Lars Lara of Rice University. A presentation by Robert Friedman, the Director of Urban Design at the City of Toronto. This week's panel session with guests Bruce Kuwabara, Ken Greenburg, Hugo Hinsley, and Daniel Dawes, and they will be introduced shortly, as well as this evening's lecture by Hugo. A talk in a few weeks' time by Thomas Rao, One Planet Architecture, based in Amsterdam. And finally, presentations by Jeff Toon and Mark Oblevsky on North House, a solar decathlon pavilion to be built next year on the grounds of the mall in Washington, D.C. I would like to take a moment to thank our lecture series sponsors, and they are Thames Valley Brick, the Consulate of the Netherlands, and the Royal Architecture Institute of Canada. Without their support, the hosting of these events simply would not be possible. This afternoon, Ryerson Schools of Architecture and Planning have come together to convene a panel of eminent persons who have been charged with the task of reflecting upon a critically important subject, that of the contemporary urban waterfront. As the event's title suggests, today's discussion is not intended to offer a thorough examination of any particular waterfront, as much as it is to offer an overview of the urban waterfront as a global condition, one which is acted out in ways similar and dissimilar around the world, from Toronto to Dubai. Today's session will be moderated by Professors Mitchell Crosby, Director of Ryerson School of Urban and Regional Planning, and Val Remener, from the University of Waterloo School of Architecture. These are both colleagues of ours at the schools and mine personally for close on 20 years, and I have enormous respect for both of them for their contribution to debates about architecture and urbanism and their understanding of the interrelationship between urbanism. They've been asked to help by framing hinging the discussion around the core and interrelated themes of ecology and the economy, asking our panelists to reflect upon where, in terms of urban waterfronts, we've come from, where we are at present, and where we are or ought to be heading in the future, understanding that the future may well unfold differently in different contexts. At this time, I'd like to introduce today's panel. And from left to right, Bruce Kuwabara, founding partner of Kuwabara, Payne, McKenna, Bloomberg Architects, one of Canada's leading architects and the 2006 recipient of the RAIC Gold Medal for Architecture. KPMB has won 10 Governor General's Awards, Canada's highest honor, as well as awards from the Royal British Institute of Architects and the American Institute of Architects. Following graduation from the University of Toronto School of Architecture in 1973, Bruce worked in the studios of George Baird and Martin Myers, who were both influential to his ideas on urbanism. In the first few years of KPMB, Kuwabara designed several architectural interior projects, as well as the competition-winning scheme for Kitchener City Hall. This work rapidly established KPMB's reputation for excellence and quality, and contributed to raising the profile of Canadian architecture internationally. Since then, Kuwabara has directed numerous competition-winning schemes, including the Vaughan Civic Center, the Canadian Embassy in Berlin, and Le Quartier Concordia for Concordia University in downtown Montreal. And that project's a joint venture with Fichten, Seuterman, and Associate Architects in Montreal. As a practitioner and critic, Kuwabara is committed to the fusion of architectural excellence, sustainability, and the formation of the public realm. This approach informs a diverse array of projects, including Canada's National Ballet School, a joint venture with Goldsmith, Wardle and Company Architects, the Gardner Museum, the future Bell Lightbox for the Toronto International Film Festival Group, and the new Manitoba Hydro head offices in Winnipeg, which will be one of the world's largest energy-efficient buildings in an extreme climate. Winnipeg, of course, is about as extreme as one can find. Kuwabara has taught at the Faculty of Architecture, Landscape and Design at the University of Toronto at the Graduate School of Design at Harvard. As the honorary co-chair for fundraising, he established the Frank Gehry International Design Chair at the U of T. He is the first chair of the Waterfront Design Review Panel for Waterfront Toronto and a member of the Board of Directors at the Canadian Centre for Architecture. Kuwabara continues to participate as a jury member, guest lecturer, and critic on issues of architecture, urbanism, and sustainable design, and to contribute to the national discourse on city building in the 21st century. On Bruce's left is Ken Greenburg, architect and urban designer. Ken Greenburg has played a leading role on a broad range of assignments in highly diverse urban settings in North America and Europe. Much of his work focuses on the rejuvenation of downtowns, waterfronts, neighborhoods, and campus master planning. His projects include the award-winning St. Paul on the Mississippi Development Framework in Minnesota, the Brooklyn Bridge Park on the East River in New York, the East River Waterfront in Lower Manhattan, the FAM Pier in Boston, the Southeast Waterfronts in Washington, D.C., the vision plan for the District of Columbia, and the preparation of a master plan for the Noma District, that's north of Massachusetts Avenue in Washington, D.C., Kemble Square and North Point master plans in Cambridge, the downtown Hartford Economic and Urban Design Action Strategy, the preparation of a strategic framework for Midtown Detroit, surrounding the Detroit Medical Center and Wayne State University, the implementation of the Harborfront Master Plan, and plans for the new film port, Toronto Film Studios Complex and the Toronto Waterfront, and an interim role as chief planner at the Boston Redevelopment Authority for the City of Boston, including oversight of the Crossroads Initiative, which builds on the Big Dig and Rose Kennedy Greenway. I don't have time to do anything else. This is amazing. In each city, with each project, his strategic consensus-building approach has led to coordinated planning and a renewed focus on urban design. Current efforts include plans for the Lower Don Plains, a comprehensive plan for the mouth of the Don River, which we'll be seeing today, where it enters Toronto Harbor, a strategic master plan for Boston University, plans for the renewal of Grange Park in association with the AGO, plans for the adaptive reuse of the Hearn, a decommissioned power plant in the Toronto Portlands, the redevelopment of the former U.S. Postal Service site on the Fort Point Channel in Boston, the renewal of the inner Beltlands in Somerville, Massachusetts, plans for the Calgary Riverwalk along the Bow and Knoxville rivers, and implementing the master plan for the renewal of Regent Park, a major public housing project in Toronto. To Ken's left is Hugo Hinsley, who is co-director of the postgraduate program on housing and urbanism at the Architectural Association in London, where he is also director of the 5th-year program on future practice and of the annual visiting teachers program. Hugo is an architect working on housing, community buildings, and urban planning projects, and has been a consultant to many projects in Europe, Australia, and America. He has taught, lectured, and published internationally. Recent research has been on London's design and planning, particularly on the cases of docklands and spillages, on urban policy and structure in European cities, on urban density and intensity, on the relationships between culture, housing design, and urban design. Work includes a 2-year research program in Penn City on housing in the 21st century and research and developing design excellence with the Architecture and Urban Research Institute of Korea. Housing and Urbanism is a design and research program at the AA that focuses on the dynamics of the urban condition. It relates spatial and design issues to social and economic processes, exploring the effects of strong physical and social changes in patterns of urban living and the public domain. The program combines design workshops in rapidly changing urban areas with lecture and seminar courses addressing many critical and theoretical aspects of housing and urbanism. Some of the current themes the housing and urbanism program is exploring. They are the potential of urbanized innovation environments and the spatial implications of knowledge-based economies, urban intensification at multiple scales, informality, irregularity, and poverty as continuing urban conditions. Finally, these themes relate to the sustainability of urban models worldwide and have impacts on critical thinking about living spaces, workspaces, clusters, and networks of resources and the design of urban space. He was left is Daniel Ross. Dr. Daniel Dawes currently is the Dean of the Faculty